Hey, welcome to section 3 here. In chapter 9, we've been solving quadratic equations for the last two sections. Section 1, you graphed them. Section 2, you learned how to use a graph to find their solutions. In section 3, we're going to be completing the square. Okay. Remember last chapter, we also learned how to solve these by factoring. So right there, this is three ways that we've learned so far. We can factor, we can graph. Now we're going to learn to complete the square, and in the next section we're going to learn how to solve them by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so there's 4 ways total that we can do this, and so let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, there's not a whole lot of introduction or vocabulary words or anything you need to know. This is just sort of a longer process, so make sure we're paying attention, following along, listening, as well as writing. Okay, so what we need to do here. We have x squared minus 14x plus 13. In order to solve this by completing the square, okay, the first thing we do is we move the c term over to the right. So we'll subtract 13 from each side. Now when I rewrite this, I'm going to leave a space where that 13 used to be, and you're going to see why in just a second here. Okay, so that's step number 1. Step number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to take this negative 14, whatever is the b term, okay? We're going to pull it off to the side for just a quick minute. And what we do is we do whatever that middle term is, divide it by 2, and square it. So negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49. Okay? Since I got positive 49, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write plus 49 right where that 13 used to be. Okay. And now here's how I'm able to do it. If we think of an equation like a balance beam, the left side and the right side having to be equal, the same weight. Well, I just took 49 pounds and I added it onto this left side. In order to make it balanced again, I also have to do 49 on the right side. Okay. So if I add 49 to both sides, my equation stays nice and balanced. Okay. So now let's rewrite this, and I have x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 36. Okay. Now what we're going to do is I take a look at this left side. I notice that it is factorable. Okay. And I see that negative 7 and negative 7 work. Okay. Negative 7 plus negative 7 is negative 14. Negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. This is what's called a perfect square trinomial. Okay. When I have a square in the front, there's x squared. Okay. This is a perfect square, and the square root of that's in the middle. That's what's called a perfect square trinomial. That's what we were trying to set up, was a perfect square trinomial. Okay, and we're going to see that on all the problems that we end up doing. Okay. The reason why that's significant is because now I have x minus 7 times x minus 7, which can be rewritten as x minus 7 squared equals 36. Okay. Now the last 2 steps here, I guess this was step 3, was rewriting it. Step 4 was making the 2 factors. Step 5 was writing it with the squared. So now to get rid of the squared, I take a square root. The square root cancels out the squared, and I'm going to restart over here off to the side so that I have x minus 7 left equals, the square root of 36 is positive or negative 6. Okay. Last thing I'm going to do here is solve for x. So I can do x minus 7 equals positive 6, and x minus 7 equals negative 6. So when I solve for x, it's pretty easy from here. X is either 13 or x is equal to 1. Okay? That's completing the square. I know that that is a long process, okay? But it's not hard if you just follow step by step by step, okay? There's a lot of places that you can make mistakes. If we take our time and go step by step, you'll get through it, okay? Let's try example 2. All right. So first thing we'll do is go ahead and take C over. So take the 9 over and make sure we leave the space. X squared plus 6x space equals 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Okay. Now here's where we take the b term out and we do 6 over 2 squared, which is equal to 3 squared, which is 9. So I'm going to add 9 into both sides. Okay? When I do that, I end up with, sorry, I got distracted there for a minute. I end up with x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 5. Now, where did that get us? Right back to where we started. Okay? And why is that? Because if we had taken a second first to look and see, I have a perfect square trinomial to begin with. Because I have my square up front, 9 is a perfect square, and the square root of 9 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. So I already had my perfect square. Okay. So when I go to factor this, I get x plus 3 and x plus 3 equals 5. Okay. So then I can rewrite it just like I did up top. X plus 3 squared equals 5. Take the square root so that x plus 3 equals positive, that was what I wanted to do. The positive or negative square root of 5. And you don't need to actually take it. And you're going to see here in just a minute what we're going to do. Okay? So that means x plus 3 equals the positive square root of 5, and x plus 3 equals the negative square root of 5. So when I solve this, I get x is equal to negative 3 plus radical 5, and x is equal to negative 3 minus radical 5. And we just leave both of those as our answer. Okay? So you don't have to actually ever take the square root. Just leave it written as a square root, write it out, added or subtracted, and you should be good to go. Now, for those of you asking, Mr. DeZorda, do we really have to do all that stuff in the red if we see it's a perfect square trinomial first? The answer is no. All this stuff right here could be skipped if you see that you have a perfect square trinomial to begin with. Okay? So as soon as you see x squared, you see the last number is a square root, a perfect square, and that the square root of that adds to your middle number, you know it's a perfect square trinomial, and you can skip down to this right away. Okay? So if you don't notice it, that's fine, because like I said, it worked out right here. You just end up right back where you started. So you didn't do any, you did some extra work, but you didn't do anything that was wrong. Okay? So last example. Let's take a look at the bottom, example 3. This time we have a number in front of our x squared. And to be honest, that is a problem when we're trying to complete the square. You cannot have a number for a. A has to be 1. Okay? So what I have to do first here, before I get rid of my c, is I need to get rid of a. So divide by negative 0.04. Everything. Oops, 0.04. Let me try that again. Divide by negative 0.04. Everything has to be divided by negative 0.04. Even this. Okay? So when I do that, I end up with an x squared. I end up with minus 50x. I end up with minus 200 equals 0. Okay? Now let's check real quick. Do I have a perfect square trinomial? Is 200 a perfect square? The answer to that is no, it is not. So I know that I don't have a perfect square trinomial, which means the first thing I need to do is to complete the square by adding 200. Okay? So x squared minus 50x equals 200. Make sure we pull out negative 50, because we're going to do negative 50 over 2 squared, which is 25 squared, which is 625. So we're going to add 625 in here. Add 625. All right. Now to simplify this, again, we're just going to take a look at the square root of 625, which becomes x minus 25, x minus 25 equals 825. So x minus 25 squared equals 825. Again, for those of you that are curious, that kind of have a good understanding of this already, this step right there where the black arrow is something that you can skip. You can skip right down to x minus 25 squared equals 825 if you want to. Okay? If not, that's fine. Again, you're not doing anything wrong. All right? So we'll end up with x minus 25. Remember, we're going to take the square root. So x minus 25 equals the positive square root of 825. And x minus 25 equals the negative square root of 825. Okay? From there, we'll add 25 to everything. And finally, x is equal to 25 plus the square root of 825, or x is equal to 25 minus the square root of 825. All right? That's completing the square. Okay, got 3 examples here, or I've given you 3 examples. So hopefully it makes sense again. We'll be here in class, do some practice with it. And good luck. We have one more section coming up. Section 4 is the last section. You're going to be learning how to use the quadratic equation. Okay? So we'll see you then. Bye.